Hello. First of all, I want to tell you this video is going to be about Tucker Carlson, Rupert Murdoch and Star Wars. So before I do that, I want to tell you about a comment I had underneath one of my videos recently in which somebody said, "Why do you have this obsession with America?" I don't have an obsession with America. I think if you look at my videos, you'll see I do some about America. But whatever it is, we do have to take America into account. To misquote Konstantin Kissin's rather crude comment about the relationship between America, or the USA at any rate, and the UK, what America flushes down the toilet in the evening ends up washing up on British shores the next morning. Actually, that's not the whole story. The flush does go in the other direction as well, but that's for another discussion. Meanwhile, back to Tucker Carlson and a quote from Star Wars. "If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." So that's the quote. And the cast is, of course, Obi-Wan Carlson, Darth Murdoch, and of course, the Princess Leia, Rachel Maddow. I was put in mind of this by a piece she made about you could call him the Nazi priest, Father Coughlin, who was quite a thing in the 1930s in North America. She said he held an enormous amount of power. For anyone in Britain who doesn't know about Father Coughlin, he was an ordinary Catholic priest. Then he started making radio broadcasts, and he started off with, he came up with the expression social justice, by the way. I don't know why social justice always ends up in anti-Semitism, because that's what happened to Father Coughlin. It started off as social justice and ended up, thinking Hitler was a pretty cool guy. Anyway, Maddow said that he held, as he did, an enormous amount of power over the popular mind. What she means is the working class mind, of course. The popular mind is something that most of the American legacy media seem to have a profound contempt for. But anyway, and I'm interrupting myself to tell you I'm granniopteryx on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. The links are in the description. I let you know when I've uploaded a new video on Twitter and Gab. The links are in the description. And you can contribute financially to this channel if you want. The links are in the description. The one thing you don't have to bother about the links or the description is the like button. Please like this video. Please share it. And please subscribe to my channel. But liking is really important. It does help the channel. Okay, back to Star Wars. The popular mind is something that most of the American legacy media seem to have a profound contempt for. But anyway, he had about a third of the American population listening to his radio show at one point. As repellent as his views were, we shouldn't forget that he was actually stifled in the end by a federal government that passed special laws just to shut him up. And it's not something that anyone should be rejoicing about. After that, Maddow says, there was Bill O'Reilly, who himself was an enormous influence until he was sacked by Fox. And her thesis is that each demagogue has been smaller than the previous and less powerful and more forgettable. First there was Father Coughlin, then Bill O'Reilly, and now the midget, Carlson. Well, I'm afraid she really got things wrong there. He's no midget. And then she went on to celebrate the fall of Carlson and his potential diminishment into obscurity. And that's where the Jedian battle in Star Wars comes in. Now, look, before I get on to the battle, I shall tell you there are 3 reasons that I don't like Carlson much. First, he has a very irritating voice. I mean, if Mel Blanc were not dead, I'd be assuming he was voicing Carlson's scripts. The second is that although I can see the point of many of Carlson's opinions, in my opinion, he's gone too much into the direct opposite of Antifa. And like the extreme view that Antifa has on one side of society, Carlson has developed a precisely counterweight opposite. And so on many occasions, I find him out of the bounds of reasonable argument. This is all my opinion. I'm quite sure there are other people who think he's perfectly right. And the third reason that I don't like Carlson is that I disagree with him most profoundly about the Ukraine matter. I won't go into that now because it's long and complicated, and that's not what this video is about. In this video, I'm concentrating on the fight between the 2 masters of the Force, Carlson and Murdoch. According to the latest news, which I got just this morning, Murdoch has not actually sacked Carlson. He's just put him on a sort of suspension. He has denied him access to his company email address, and he's basically making Carlson sit out the game because he's not officially fired, though he can't accept contracts with anyone else. It's a sort of limbo. So he can't sign that contract with Russia Today after all. I'm not implying that he ever would, but they did offer him the job, didn't they? I'm just going to go back to Princess Leia, Rachel Maddow. Like many of her comrades, she always thinks in terms of the past, the historic battles, rather than the future ones. I'm not suggesting Maddow is a communist, by the way. No, she's just a common or garden authoritarian for hire. But she does have something of that same mindset. And part of that mindset involves an old-fashioned view of the world. We all know about the communist hammer and sickle, don't we? That's an imagery that's particularly a Soviet one. But the other dominant iconography always involved a lot of cogs and gears. I'll put some pictures up and you'll see the sort of thing I'm talking about. And that's because when Soviet communism got started, that was the height of modernity. It was the big machinery that was going to take Russia out of the horse and plough economy that it had until then to modern factories. 50 years later, when the Soviets were still printing Pravda on those cog and gear industrial printing presses, people in the West were using photocopiers. And all those cogs and gears, like the political philosophy itself, looked pretty much out of date. And that's exactly the mistake Maddow is making. Father Coughlin fell into obscurity because a mass media platform was denied him. Bill O'Reilly had spent his whole career in legacy media, and so he had trouble adapting. But Carlson is a new type of beast altogether. When Orson Welles offended Randolph Hearst, Hearst spent the rest of his life and considerable resources sabotaging Welles' career. And he largely succeeded. There are many films that didn't get made because of Hearst's interference, or were made and mysteriously disappeared. That happened to Welles's production of Othello. And it looks to me as if Murdoch has similar ideas with regard to Carlson, but Murdoch doesn't have the power that Hearst had. Murdoch, it seems to me, is still a printing press kind of guy. Carlson is the photocopier. And as I said, I disagree with Carlson very profoundly on many issues, but when a printing press goes up against a photocopier, I know who's going to win. Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbow with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.